This is not just another border raid. This is Ukraine penetrating Moscow's air defenses with devastating effect, bringing chaos directly to the Russian capital. Ukrainian drones and long-range strikes have breached the heart of Russia's supposedly impregnable capital region, hitting key infrastructure and sowing panic across the city. Vladimir Putin, who has long portrayed Moscow as untouchable, is now facing the reality that the war he started has come home. Hit that subscribe button right now because this channel covers the real story, not the headlines, but the history being made underneath them as Ukraine carries the fight into the enemy's backyard. When most people think about the war, they picture fighting in Donbass or near the Dnipro, but Ukraine has fundamentally changed the geography of this conflict. A coordinated series of strikes has penetrated Moscow's layered air defenses, causing explosions, blackouts, and visible chaos in the capital. This is deep strike warfare at its most effective, reaching the political and symbolic center of the Russian Federation. Let me walk you through the logic step by step, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Russia's capital has always been protected by the best air defense systems Moscow could field: S-400 batteries, Panzer units, electronic warfare, and constant patrols. Ukraine's penetration of those defenses shows how far their long-range capabilities have evolved. Drones and missiles evaded or overwhelmed interceptors, striking targets that create immediate disruption, infrastructure supporting the war effort, command nodes, and areas that bring the war home to ordinary Muscovites. Chaos erupts not just from the strikes themselves, but from the psychological shock of realizing the capital is vulnerable. Think about what this means for Russian officials and residents in Moscow right now. You were told the heartland was safe, that the special military operation was far away. And now explosions rock the city, air raid alerts sound, and traffic grinds to a halt amid emergency responses. This is the psychological dimension of what Ukraine has done. And it is every bit as important as the physical damage. Nothing erodes public confidence faster than watching the capital come under direct attack. To understand why this penetration hits with such force at this moment, you need to grasp Russia's broader defensive strain. Air defense assets are stretched thin across vast territory and the Ukrainian front. Production cannot keep pace with Ukrainian innovation and swarm tactics. Earlier strikes on energy and logistics have already created shortages. Now, hitting Moscow directly forces the regime to pull resources inward, weakening support for forces in Ukraine and exposing the limits of Putin's Fortress Russia narrative. Russia is not helpless. They can reinforce air defenses around the capital, launch retaliatory barrages, and attempt to spin the chaos as insignificant. Authoritarian regimes excel at damage control and narrative management, but Putin needs the illusion of security at home. When defenses around Moscow are penetrated and chaos erupts, that illusion shatters and creates political pressure he cannot easily dismiss. Now, here is what makes this remarkable about Ukraine. From limited strike options early in the war, they have built a sophisticated long-range capability that repeatedly reaches the Russian capital. This was not a lone drone that slipped through. It was a coordinated effort demonstrating intelligence, technical adaptation, and the will to bring the war to those who started it. Ukrainian engineers and operators continue to outpace a much larger adversary. This success sends a powerful message to the Ukrainian people. For cities enduring nightly Russian attacks, for families who have lost everything, for soldiers on the front, this is proof that the fight is not one-sided. Ukraine can reach Moscow. The enemy feels the pain too. Their resilience is delivering results that matter. On the Russian home front, the implications are corrosive. Putin has built his image on strength and protection, the promise that ordinary Russians would be shielded from the consequences of his war. When chaos erupts across the capital, that promise is broken. Residents experience the fear and disruption firsthand. The gap between state television boasting and real explosions in Moscow becomes impossible to ignore. Internationally, this escalates the stakes. While partners debate further support, Ukraine shows it can impose direct costs on Russia's center of power. The penetration of Moscow's defenses demonstrates the effectiveness of sustained investment in Ukrainian capabilities and the limits of Russian air superiority even over their own territory. The effects are cumulative. Repeated deep strikes on the capital combine with battlefield interdiction, logistical degradation, and sanctions pressure. Each successful penetration raises the domestic and international cost of the war. Russian air defenses are expended. Political pressure builds, and focus shifts from offense to defending the homeland. I want to give the full picture. Russia still possesses significant territory and the ability to strike back. One series of strikes does not collapse the regime, but the direction of travel is clear. Ukraine is expanding the battlefield, eroding Russian sanctuaries, and forcing Putin to defend what he once claimed was untouchable. For ordinary Ukrainians, children growing up with sirens, families rebuilding shattered cities, soldiers who refuse to yield, this chaos in Moscow is more than distant explosions. It is justice. It is proof that their suffering is answered and that determination can reach the heart of the aggressor. A nation fighting for its existence is showing the world what strategic reach looks like. As we close this analysis, consider the broader arc. What began as a Russian invasion meant to end in days has become a war where Ukrainian drones and strikes regularly penetrate the Russian capital. The three-day operation that promised easy victory has turned into a conflict where Russia must defend its own heartland. Ukraine just penetrated Moscow's defenses, and chaos has erupted across the Russian capital. This represents a new phase of deep, direct pressure. It signals Ukraine's growing long-range dominance. And it reminds everyone watching that the war Putin started is coming home to those who launched it. If this analysis helped you understand these escalating deep strikes, share it with someone who needs the truth beneath the noise. Hit subscribe for more breakdowns like this every time the battlefield expands. The defenses are breached, chaos is spreading, and the ripples from this penetration will be felt in Moscow and on the front lines for weeks to come. Stay with us.